It turns out being an intergalactic overlord is all about truth and honesty. Anyway, I digest.
I'm sure you do.
Digress. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to First Feedback.
Thanks.
Hello, Will Goldston.
Hi, Liz McCurry.
And how are you?
I'm very well.
What are we doing here now, then?
We're celebrating this brand new decade.
Wow. Oh, yeah, a decade.
Yeah, decade.
Woohoo.
It's quite a chilled New Year's Eve party that we're having here, isn't it?
Yeah, we've not got Aurora.
No.
So this episode, special Fancy New Year episode, we are going to look back at the last decade and say what our favourite games are from each year.
That's true. Now, how have you approached it? And this, again, we're just pulling back the curtain. I've done my favourite game and my second place.
I've effectively written a reflective essay for each game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you actually?
Pretty much, look. Sneak peek.
Damn, Liz is sneak peeking. I mean, I can't read anything that Liz handwrites.
Yeah.
Because it is some kind of bizarre Sanskrit.
Well, you know.
But that's good. If you ever need to pass notes to the enemy. New Year's Eve. I hope you're all having a good hangover when you're listening to this.
Yes.
We shall post on New Year's Day. And yeah, I mean, do you want to get started? Would you like me to start? How do you want to play this?
I went first in the Christmas party. I did my tech and bowling, didn't I?
Okay, I will kick off.
Are we going to time it? Because I babble, don't I? How
yeah, but I'll just cut you off.
You're just going to bang the gong?
Liz.
Is that going to be the thing?
I'll cut you off.
What if I'm at a good bit?
Then I won't.
Okay.
How will I tell what a good bit? What are the rules?
Right
just
then.
Wave your arm about when you're doing a good bit.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
So take me back to 2009, William.
Well, 2009 for me was all about Left 4 Dead 2.
Oh yeah, you are a Left 4 Dead fan, aren't you?
I know. I talked about it last time on the Halloween episode because we were doing horror games. But I looked at my list of faves from that year and I couldn't think of anything I played more or enjoyed more than Left 4 Dead.
2009 was a good year, actually.
It was a great year.
Yeah.
The honourable mention I've got that year is Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, great game.
Because it's like the start of that series and it was, quite exciting and new at that point. I mean, they're all good in their own way, but it was quite a fresh little take on things. But for me, yeah, it was all about Left 4 Dead 2, playing it with my mates. You always have one person who would not bear in mind how the AI worked and would just run off by themselves, thus endangering literally everybody else.
That?
I don't know.
That's something my mum would do.
Yeah. Has your mum played Left 4 Dead?
I would love to see my mum play Left 4 Dead.
So would I.
Who did you play? What was your
mum.
The medic.
I played as your mum. No, I told you before there weren't classes.
I'm sure there were.
They're not. You're thinking of Team Fortress.
Okay.
Yeah, you can heal each other and stuff. You can all do the same stuff.
Just 4 pals.
Yeah, 4 good buds.
But then what would give you the advantage of choosing a character? Was it just aesthetic?
I think it was just aesthetic. I'm pretty sure about this. I'm going to find out that I'm horrifically wrong.
No, I'm pretty sure you're not.
Write in and tell us.
I just, I need more than aesthetics to choose my...
Well, it didn't really make any difference. You're just sort of cracking on.
Okay.
Getting on with it.
I guess it wouldn't matter in a zombie apocalypse anyway, would it? What you look like.
No, exactly. Just your ability to swing a cricket bat.
Yeah.
So Left 4 Dead 2 is enduring in my mind, just the intensity of the survival mode, and just trying to stay alive against time limits and see if we could beat high scores and things.
And whittling witches.
And whittling witches.
A whittling witch.
Yeah, that was so good. So yeah, that's my pick of 2009. What about yourself?
So 2009, I've got such a list.
Have you?
So Batman Arkham Asylum was also on my list of honorable mentions.
Nice.
Uncharted 2. Not my favourite Uncharted, but yeah.
Is that the one that starts with the train? Or is that 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Off the side of
the...
Cliff Edge. Bayonetta.
Don't think I ever played it. Is it a hack and slash?
Kind of.
Is it a shoot and slash?
It's kind of like...
Hack and shoot.
Hack and shoot, yeah. It's dead good. Silent Hill Shattered Memories and Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles, which you could play on the Wii with the Zapper.
Is this your short list leading up to number 1?
2009 was a great year for games, in my humble opinion.
Right.
So the one that is top of my list is Radical Entertainment's Prototype.
Ah, I love Prototype.
Prototype was a great game.
Oh, yes.
So, but anyone who hasn't played Mototype, that is the sequel.
Motopipes. Tell me about Motopipes.
So Motopipes is...
Equal to Road Rash.
It's an open world adventure game where you play a shapeshifter called Alex Mercer, which I think is a badass name. And sometimes I do get post to Elizabeth Mercer, who is the bad guy in the second one, because people can't spell my surname.
Right.
So he's a military experiment.
Yes.
And he's trying to stop this outbreak in the city. So you kind of play an anti-hero. And I don't know what your take of the game was, but...
I really liked it.
It was incredible, but it was literally running around the city, like smashing shit up.
I used to remember just the fact that you could effectively run up to a building, run up the building,
Yes!
over the top and back down again.
I think it's
really weird.
It's very rare that a game makes me feel like a badass so effortlessly. In Prototype, I remember you could just hold down one button to sprint, and if you were in sprint mode, you would vault over everything kind of automatically.
Yeah, you just
somersault,
over the top.
And you just felt like a badass. And he could morph. Can you remember that he could morph his hands into different weapons?
Yeah.
So you would have a whole wheel that was just weird shit he could do with his hands. So he had these big tentacle things that he like smashed around, smashed in the ground, tentacles. He had like knives, and he had like big fists.
Yeah, you had like big, like, did you ever read the comic book, The Max?
No.
It's about this big creature thing, and it could turn its fist into like spikes. But I remember it being like that, him having like a big lobster arm.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. It was
Lobsterman.
It was dead good. And I've written at the bottom here in my notes that Eric Holmes was the designer on this. And he was also the designer on Earthworm Jim, Gears of War 3, and Batman Arkham Origins.
Very cool. So did you play it on console?
360, yeah.
Because that was it. I didn't have a PlayStation. Well, I didn't have a console at the time. And so I'm pretty sure I played it on PC. Because at the time, it was all about trying to be Infamous, right?
Yeah.
On PlayStation.
Oh, yes, because Infamous was released in maybe 3 months of Prototype? Or the other way around?
I thought Infamous had been out for a while, and this was up against Infamous 2. I will fact check.
Funnily, I never played Infamous, although it looks beautiful. You know, the later installments of the series look really very beautiful.
Yeah.
I always like a bit of grit. I'll go for anything that's a bit gritty.
A bit of grit.
You know, the first episode we ever did of this podcast was Beatdown. I think that sets the tone. So Prototype was the one for me. I should mention as well that Resident Evil 5 came out in 2009, and that was obviously on the short
list. That's a toughie.
Yeah.
So I can confirm that Infamous came out in May, and Prototype came out in June 2009.
Oh, whoa.
So they must have been in co-development, aware of one another in some way. But
Before I move on, just one last thing that was awesome about Prototype is that you could consume people. Do you remember that?
I remember lobbing cars at people and just feeling a little bit overpowered, to be honest.
It was such a great game. But you could consume people and take on their identity.
Oh, I don't remember that. That's great.
Yeah, that was good.
They should make another Prototype.
Yeah, Prototype was amazing.
I think it's just often, it's a bit maligned.
Would you call it a cult hit?
I'd say it's a bit of a cult hit, but the internet would disagree with this.
What?
GameSpot, 5 out of 10. Metacritic, 48%.
Amazing game, in my humble opinion.
Throwing
tanks and stuff. That's what you want, isn't it?
I think it's quite straightforward, yeah.
So, William.
Yes.
Mr. Goldstone. Mr. Goldstone. Should we fast forward to 2010?
Let's do it. 2010.
I think we have the same one.
I don't think so, but it's possible. Yeah, let's see. So, 2010, it was around that time of the 360 sort of first wave of console XNA indie titles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking of? Super Meat Boy.
Oh, wow.
Or Team Meat.
Gosh, was that 2010?
Yep.
I remember that.
It would have
That was a storm.
Yeah, and I love that game. It's just a wonderful, brutally difficult thing. I'm pretty sure I'd never got anywhere near completing it, but it was very enjoyable.
Was it a platformer?
Yeah, so just like a brutal wall sliding platformer.
I was terrible at it. I don't think I got
I had
to
it
the
on
first
360. That was like my first set of 360 games when I got my console. But my runner-up is Limbo.
Yeah, great game.
Mostly because, I preferred Inside, I think, to Limbo. But anyway, Team Meat smashed it, and I really love Indie Game the Movie, the documentary. And just their story of how they were getting it made and getting the deal with Microsoft and all the stress of shipping a game. It was just really fascinating. So if anyone's not seen Indie Game the Movie, highly recommend it. But yeah, Super Meat Boy was awesome, very simple, very cute. And it was kind of a bit of a throwback to Flash games.
Yeah.
Like, it made me think of, like, I suppose it's because it was around the same group of indie games, things like Alien Hominid.
Yeah, that was really cute. Yeah,
so those kind of things where you kind of thought, well, okay, you know, these simple games can still be a hit for an indie developer.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really nice, really cool. And it was just really, in a kind of like an Acme way, quite brutal and punishing to the character all times.
But he always came back smiling.
He did.
Do you know have they developed anything since? Has there been a sequel to Super Meat Boy?
They've made a new, either like a remaster or something, but they made Binding of Isaac.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the same gross, disgusting style.
I didn't realise.
Yeah, it's Edmund Macmillan is the main guy's name. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Super Meat Boy Forever is the new one where it's kind of brought up to date for the latest consoles, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, etc.
Nice.
So you can get all of that. You can also get it on PC. But yeah, it's just a wonderful game, and it's one of those kind of enduring games that, you know, doesn't really age because it's that kind of 16-bit, 8-bit, simple platforming. It just feels really good. It's all about the feel of the jump, and everything was just tuned perfectly. Tommy Reffiners, that's the other guy, or Reffiens? I don't know. Yeah, those were the two guys that made it.
It is dead good.
I cannot recommend it more. And of course, Limbo was the first game from Playdead, and it was beautiful, black and white, horrific, gothic, horror-y.
That spider.
Side-scroller, that bloody spider.
That spider. I didn't play it after the spider.
I was going to say, that put me off quite a lot.
Yeah, the spider scared me.
Eerie. So that's my picks of 2010. Elizabeth, how about you?
Well, do you remember that I like...
Resident Evil? Final Fantasy?
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
Our friend David Cage.
Yeah.
So.
David Cage.
Yeah. My pick of 2010 is Heavy Rain.
Oh, nice.
Which I think is... Fahrenheit's probably my favourite Quantic Dream, but Heavy Rain is really close.
Okay.
And the runner-up that year is Deadly Premonition.
Don't know that one.
Really?
What's that?
I think I might do an episode on it.
Okay.
It is an open-world detective game where you play somebody who is trying to find the murderer in a small town. And it has many themes of Twin Peaks. It's like Twin Peaks, the game, in all one name. And it's just very charming and bonkers. But that's not my game of 2010. My game of 2010.
Tell me about Heavy Rain.
It's Heavy Rain. So Heavy Rain was made by Quantic Dream. There's a couple of games in this list that I played in one sitting.
Oh, wow.
And this is one of them.
Oh, wow.
I got it in the afternoon and just played it through the evening into the morning. I just couldn't put it down. I just thought it was absolutely incredible. So you play a guy called Ethan.
Mm.
He has a really bad time.
Oh, no.
Oh, he's having a right bad day.
Is it because it's raining so much?
Oh, and it's really heavy.
Really?
Flood. Oh, he's just having such a bad time.
Can you be more specific at all? Or?
Oh, it's really sad. It's really sad. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Kind of obliged to on the podcast.
But then he's like, what the last thing that's kind of making him happy, his son is kidnapped by the origami killer who, lovely chap, abducts young boys and then drowns them and then leaves an origami figure. You play 4 characters, and one of my most memorable things about Heavy Rain is that the thing about David Cage games is I always grow very emotionally attached to one character, and such is the way that character is always impossible to keep alive.
Okay.
So my favourite was this FBI guy called Norman. And he struggled with a drug addiction.
Oh, no.
And you could, throughout the game, kind of decide whether he should take his drugs or not.
Right.
And so I was like, no, Norman, I'm not going to allow it. We're going to clean you up. You're going to be absolutely fine. I'll take you under my wing. I'll look after you. There's this bit in the game where I don't know what triggers it. I don't know what the line of whatever is, but the line of whatever.
Got it.
The technical term. I don't know what the trail of events is for it to happen, but there was a point at which he went, because I gone cold turkey on not letting him have his pills so many times.
Oh, Norman.
He just blacks out and goes a bit mad and collapses. And the guys that are after you chain you into a car and put you in a crusher.
So you should have weaned him a bit.
Well, I didn't realise what was happening. And I didn't realise I was in control, so I didn't fight back and I just got crushed.
Oh, so you just left him to get squished?
I didn't leave him to get squished.
Sounds like it, Liz.
But I never got over it. So, Love, as you know, I'm a big fan of Quantic Dream's work. And so Heavy Rain was my game of 2010.
Cool.
You've just seen my 2011, haven't you?
I cannot read your handwriting.
Okay, that's fine.
I keep trying to look at the book, just subconsciously, because there's text and I expect to read text, but I can't read it. Anyway, I'm going to calm myself down. We're going back to 2011 right now.
Oh.
To the second in a game of first-person puzzlery.
Oh, okay. It's not what I thought it was.
Go on.
I thought it was the same as me.
Okay, it's not. Guarantee that.
First person.
It's Portal 2.
Portal. Yeah, I guessed it before you said it.
By Valve.
Valve. You're a Valve fan, aren't you? You've been banging on about Half-Life today.
Valve. We were watching our friend Aurora's stream of Half-Life just before this podcast.
Watching? You were trolling?
I was not trolling.
You were. Everything
I was trying to help.
Killed her.
That's because I was remembering the same bits, but from Half-Life 2. Where all of my techniques would definitely have worked. I'm sure
Crouch and jump, crouch and jump. I am my house. I'd have been alright if I hadn't done that.
It's another fine mess. Yeah, Portal 2, my runner-up was Dead Space 2.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Which is absolutely wonderful, which is definitely what you've chosen. Because you've got the worst poker face in the world.
I can't lie.
Oh, really?
I can't lie. I just can't.
You can't. You're like Jim Carrey.
Have you ever played a card game called Coup?
No.
It's really good.
How are you spelling that?
COUP.
Oh, is it right? Yeah.
You play like intergalactic overlords and you have cards which are your allies and you have to try and like pick each other off. And you can bluff which card you have. So if someone tries to assassinate you, you can be like, oh, I have the card that stops assassination. And if you're like, oh, rubbish, show me, and you don't have it, then you kind of lose a life. But if they daren't challenge you, you can kind of bluff your way through it. I've won every single game just by not lying.
Right.
Because it turns out being an intergalactic overlord is all about truth and honesty. Anyway, I digest.
I'm sure you do.
Digress. Oh, it's been a long
week.
2019.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dead Space 2.
I too digest, but we're talking about Portal 2 right now. So yeah, Portal, I really love Portal. I think it's one of my favourite games probably ever, just because it's so simple.
Tell me why. Will you do an episode on it, do you think?
I might do, actually. It's just so simple.
It's the co-op one, isn't it?
2 you could do co-op, yeah. But yeah, it's just the ingenuity of the puzzles. You know, it's like a big a physical game show almost, or
really?
Just like imagining all of the ridiculous combinations of things that you could string together to solve getting out of the wherever you happen to be. And then the meta narrative of the fact that you're in a test facility and things are all kind of breaking down around you, and the fact that it was it was all set in the same world as Half-Life. So it's all Aperture Science, and Aperture Science is, you know, partially the facility that's in Half-Life, and it's also this weird testing facility where, you know, I think the character's name's Shell, and you're just not sure what's going on in the first game. Then it all kind of breaks down a little bit, and you get to see GLaDOS, who's like the big kind of AI, but manifested as a big robot dangly head thing.
Yeah, I like her.
And she said good. And Portal 2 just kind of upped the ante a bunch more and added some cute robots.
Who are the 2 robots that you play as, like, story-wise? How do they fit into the narrative?
I can't remember. Yeah, no, I have no recollection. It's just really bad.
They were just very cute.
They were great. And one of them was Stephen Merchant, which was great.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Unsurprisingly, he was the taller of the 2.
That's great.
It's just a wonderful game. I kind of wish they would make more of them, because it's just one of those things where you could tell that the designers were just like at the top of their game, you know, of making bizarre, weird puzzle scenarios in first person. Can
you remember any of the puzzles like that specifically that were like really stood out to you? Like, oh wow, that was super smart. Or
well, it's just like my favourite bits were the bits where you would catapult yourself through a portal and use the momentum of that to fire you out of the, the other color portal. So if you don't know portal, sorry, you fire a portal with a gun at a wall, and then you fire a second exit portal, so you can go through one, you pop out where the other one is.
Just like real life.
Just like real life. And certain surfaces allow you to do that, and certain surfaces don't. And then, so just imagine that, but in like a weird, minimalist, futuristic maze scenario.
That sounds good.
And
fun.
so there's stuff you do. There's lots of nice touches as well, like this, the companion cube, which is this just like, it's just a box which you can use as a weight, or you can throw at things, you can do whatever.
And you can buy the biscuit tin of it.
Yeah,
which
you
is
can
really
indeed.
nice.
And
I might have to get one of them.
it's cute. It's dead cute. And it's just the idea of like understanding physics puzzles was like the main part of it. Because in Half-Life 2 they had Havoc physics for the first time. There were loads of physics puzzles.
Yeah.
But this was just like, okay, but what if we took out all of like the gunplay and stuff and just made basically a human trap as a game? And what would you do with it if there weren't enemies, but the environment was the enemy? And that's what I loved about it. Like my favorite bits were things where you would have to run and jump through something in order to kind of fall out of the ceiling with the exact velocity to push through something else. It's all, kind of samey, but everything, the way that they kind of stack up the puzzles is such that you kind of think, oh, well, this is going to be like the thing that I did like 2 levels ago, and I'll just do this, and then it's all completely different.
Oh, that's
It's
super cool.
so smart. I loved it.
I always enjoy the story of the concept that Portal was a student project that was a princess jumping through mirrors.
That rings a vague bell.
Yeah. And that Valve kind of picked it up and were like, this is awesome, and then put a futuristic slant on it.
Oh, what is that?
And I think they actually took the student group on to continue the development of.
That's it. It was a spiritual successor to the freeware game Nabacula Drop, 2005 indie game by students from DigiPen. That team was subsequently hired by Valve.
Aww.
Pretty cool.
Love that.
Pretty cool. So Liz,
Hey,
my runner-up, I think you're going to talk about right now. So why don't you do that? Tell me about the Dead Space 2.
So, 2011, my runner-up was Uncharted 3, which is my favourite Uncharted.
Is that the one with the plane?
That's the one where you're in London at the beginning. It's dead good. Love Uncharted 3. But yeah, I'm doing Dead Space 2. You suss me out, you know me too well. So, Dead Space 2 is another game that I sat and played through in one sitting.
Wow.
So when I was at university in the student blocks, in the blocks, me and my block mate, Brett, went to game, picked it up.
Brett the blockmate.
Yeah, Brett the blockmate.
Tell me about Brett the blockmate.
So we went to game after uni, about 5 o'clock, picked it up. We went back. And
Is this going to be an hour-by-hour account of your experience of that evening?
We played it all the way through till 7 a.m. in the morning. And then went to a 9 a.m. lecture. And then I went home and slept. But I was doing a games design course, so it kind of all flowed quite well.
Yeah.
So...
Bossman's holiday, wasn't it?
Yeah. Dead Space is easily one of my favourite games in the world. Dead Space 2 was just exactly what I wanted as a sequel. Yeah. It was just amazing. I touched on the What is your favourite game intro in the Christmas episode.
You did.
Dead Space 2, you Paul Man Isaac. So for anyone who's not played Dead Space, you're a guy. Tracy. You're a guy called Isaac. You're an engineer. You get sent to do all the jobs that no one else wants to do, but you're a nice lad, so you do it. So at the end, you go a bit mad.
Lad, that Isaac.
At the end, you go a bit mad. So in Dead Space 2, you wake up in an asylum.
Oh.
And there's been another outbreak of the necromorphs, which were the evil aliens from the first game.
Yep.
And so your mate comes in and he wakes you up and he's like, Isaac, we need to go, we need to get out of here. And then one of the necromorphs comes in, like the big moth, looks like a big moth.
Yeah.
Sticks its needle into his head.
Oh.
And then he's like, oh no. And then he starts turning into a necromorph and his face just explodes. And that is, at that point...
That's a good intro.
Yeah, like, it's one of the best intros to a game ever, because you just have to run, and it's the only thing you want to do.
Wow.
Run, Isaac! I'm already doing it. My mate's head just exploded. So it was created by Visceral Games, who are sadly no more, but were incredible, and published by EA on the PlayStation 3 and 360. So it was one of the most expensive games ever made, with a £120 million budget.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
True story. Apparently it had a multiplayer mode. Did you know that? I never played it.
No, really?
Yeah, 4 players on each side and just like taking on swarms of the necromorphs.
That's quite cool.
I didn't actually know that happened. So when we were playing it through at uni, I drove the whole time.
Right.
Because I'm really good at Dead Space.
Yeah.
Right. And it had
all
the stuff in it that it had from the first one, where you had the stasis where you could slow down time. You had your gun that you could flip the cutter, so you could change the position of the laser to cut the limbs off of the aliens. Limbs. But I had to pass over the controller to my blockmate Brett.
Blockmate Brett.
At one particular point where, in order to figure out why these necromorphs have arrived, this kind of cult thinks that they can find out by drilling into your eye. Or like putting a large needle into your eye. And you have to control Isaac's eye to keep it still, because if you don't, the drill just goes mental and drills into your head.
Jesus
And
Christ.
I just kept drilling into my head.
Oh, no.
So Brett had to do that bit for me.
Good old Brett.
But Dead Space 2, my 2011. Throwing it back to you, William.
So, 2012. I had a few from this year. Again, my runner-up, which I'll tell you first, is also part of Indie Game the Movie, and that is Fez.
Oh, Fez is a great game, yeah.
Wonderful,
Absolutely
inventive,
great
beautiful game. But the game that's beaten it for me is Hotline Miami by Dennerton and Abstraction.
Yeah.
Published by Devolver.
Tell me more. I never played it.
Oh my goodness. So, as I mentioned with Super Meat Boy, I am all about games that feel tactile and are finely tuned in terms of the control, and you feel like what you're controlling on the screen is very like one-to-one mapped with what you're doing with the controller. You know, I'm not a fan of floaty things, which is why Limbo was a bit like, kind of don't feel like you're quite in control of the character, that kind of jumping. But Hotline Miami is basically imagine the first GTA where you're top-down, pixely.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if that was super snappy, super fast, and it was all about, well, there's bits of stealth, but there's also just a chaining together of hits. So you basically get a phone call, and you're meant to be a hitman, but it's all a bit psychedelic. You don't know what's going on.
I was going to say the art style is quite well known for its art style, isn't it?
It's quite drug-tastic.
Is it like Pulp Fiction, the game?
Kind of, yeah. That's a pretty good way to describe it. So basically, you called and someone says, oh, well, there's a problem with some rats in my house and they need exterminating. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you drive to this thing and you're outside the front door at the start of every encounter. So you go in and you see there's a guy with a gun, and it's all about little patrols going around. And you have to get in there, knock him down, crack his head on the floor, and then get up, grab his gun, throw it through a door, or kick a door open to hit someone over. There's like a chain of things that you can do, but if they catch you, if they spot you, you get shot in one and you're just done.
But what about the rats?
There's no rats, Liz. It's metaphor.
Oh.
It's a clever code that the criminals use.
Because you're the exterminator.
Yes.
Ah.
They don't go, excuse me, could you go and kill Steve? Here's his address.
I don't know. It's just less faffing about, isn't it, if you direct?
Yeah.
I quite like that, though. That's cool. Is that an actual example? Is that like the first encounter where there's some rats that need taking care of?
It's something like that.
That's cool.
I can't remember what it is.
I like that.
They get really abstract. Just like, oh, I need a pizza picking up from this address. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you go, it's all just pointless, weird conversations that you have.
Sounds good.
But yeah, the style of it is brilliant. And generally speaking, one of the biggest reasons I love it is that it introduced me to loads of synthwave music.
Oh, nice.
Which is the kind of music that I like to make nowadays.
Lovely.
So getting the soundtrack of that and Hotline Miami 2 just introduced me to loads of really cool electro-y stuff. And it was all just like a coming together of all of these. You know, like I've mentioned, my favourite game, keep going on about it, in State. But it's all about a product that feels like it's got its design locked down, its gameplay feel locked down, it's got its music locked down, its atmosphere, and everything just kind of comes together to be perfect.
Yeah.
And feel right. And that's what Hotline Miami did really, really well. But yeah, that's why I like Hotline. It's just the perfect package.
Does it have a vinyl for the soundtrack?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it would.
I has it.
Is it really beautiful?
It's stunning. It's beautiful, like marbled picture discs.
Oh, nice!
Like coloured discs and like big fold outs with all of the artwork on. I highly recommend checking that out, getting hold of it if you're into that kind of music. It's real good. So that was my 2012. How about you?
We are so different.
That's true enough.
So I'm not going to say too much about this game because I want to do an episode on it. Because this is one of the few games I've ever played online. I'm not a big online player. I play games to chill out. Me this.
What's the only game
on my own
online?
Or a bit of couch co-op. I don't like playing online.
Love couch co-op.
I played this online and I played, I think it was Tekken 6 online and just beat everybody, so it just came off. I'm really good at Tekken, have I told you?
You haven't mentioned it, barely mentioned it.
Honours in it.
Yeah.
I've got an honours degree. So my 2012 is Slant 6 Games, published by Capcom, Operation Raccoon City.
Do not know it.
It is so underrated.
What is it?
So Operation Raccoon City is set around Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Okay.
So it's in Raccoon City when the outbreak has gone on the loose. When it's gone viral. So it has a lot of characters and enemies that you know and love. So Nemesis is knocking about. Neela Mesis, he's in it.
He's in it?
Yeah.
Oh, good to see him again.
He likes it. So basically, you play bad guys. So you play a team that were hired by Umbrella, who are the bad people who do the outbreak, to go and clean up the city so it doesn't get out to the media and all that. So the gameplay is that it's 12 playable characters and you can play in a team of 6. Mm-hmm. And there's characters that you can choose to all have different abilities. So there was a guy called Vector, who I always played.
Vector Mildrew.
But then there was I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either. Tell me more.
And there was a guy called Spectre. And they really confused me because Vector, who I played, had the ability, he had like stealth camo. So he could go invisible for a short amount of time. Mm-hmm.
Like a ghost.
Like a ghost.
Hence the name Spectre.
No, hence the name Vector.
Oh.
Spectre.
Oh, no.
I can't remember what Spectre did, but I think he might have been an explosives expert or something. So I used to be like, it always...
So Spectre was really good at calculating directions.
Yeah.
And trajectory. Mm. But they got it all backwards. Fucking nightmare.
Yeah. It used to really confuse me. There was Bertha, who was a medic. Yeah, so I always played as Vector, so he went invisible and had knives, so he could like go invisible and do some close range, which I quite enjoyed.
So are you just weird, creatures against each other then?
You're not creatures, you're like the military, but you've all got different abilities that you've been trained. And you've been sent into Raccoon City to clean it up, so you're taking out all the zombies and all the BOWs.
Which are?
Bioorganic weapons.
Nice.
Yeah.
But you can do
bows. Quite nice.
Bows. Little bow wows. So you can turn into invisible super soldiers with knives and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a bit Metal Gear-y.
It did have that element to it.
Sci-fi.
Which, it had like sci-fi twist to it. And there was like a guy, I forgot the name of the guy, but he had some goggles that he could see thermal and through walls. So
like Predator.
So like Predator. So if it bleeds, we can kill it.
We can.
So everybody had a cool ability, and if you all kind of mucked in together, you could do some cool stuff together. I don't want to say too much about it because I do want to do an episode on it, but it's
called Operation Raccoon City.
Operation Raccoon City. It received mixed reviews, but was a commercial success, and I think it's a really underappreciated game.
Cool.
I absolutely love it. Go Vector.
All right.
Close combat stealthing.
So, Liz, I'm going to tell you now about 2013. It's a game that's very on brand for me. I love 80s things. I love cyberpunky things.
Yeah.
Can you guess what it is from that description? We require more clues.
More clues, please.
I like
2013
cliched first-person shooters with extreme themes.
Doom?
It's not that. My pick
Halo.
for 2013 is Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
don't know this one.
Oh. Well, this
Dragon.
this is basically a spin-off not a mini game, but like a smaller spin-off game from Far Cry 3. So it's by Ubisoft Montreal, and they effectively made a game where it's like, you know, all the like cliched synth-wavy design when you've got like a vector mountain and it's all glowing and lines and stuff that looks like it's the back of a box of like, you know, a Mega Drive or something.
Yeah.
That backdrop. Well, it was a game in that kind of style, and you were against like, it's basically like Kung Fury, the game.
Kung Fury's
if
great.
you can imagine that. And you were basically a character who looked just like Michael Bain from, you know, Terminator or Aliens. And you had like a cybernetic eye.
Seriously?
Like a laser pistol. It's all super like tongue-in-cheek. Like real comedy. Like basically what they should have done with Duke Nukem to make it relevant was...
3D? Forever?
Well, forever, I guess. But yeah, it's just like a total piss take of like 80s action movies and sci-fi and cyberpunk themes all kind of smooshed together.
This sounds
And there was
so my
dinosaurs
jam.
too. It's
What?
great.
I can't believe that this actually existed.
Yeah, it did. It's a true story. My runner-up from that year is very different, which is Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons.
Oh, yeah.
Which was just a nice little
So,
platformer story.
Far Cry Blood Dragon, what
Yeah.
consoles was that on?
It was on, pretty sure I had it on, was this 360? Yeah, so yeah, this is just at the end of that console generation, wasn't it?
I might have to buy this.
It's really good.
It sounds like something that I would really love, but I missed it.
Yeah, you did. You should definitely get it. It might be on PS4, actually.
I mean, this was 2013. The game I'm going to talk about pretty much dominated. I don't think I played another game that year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I missed every other game that came out in 2013.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. So they in 2016, they made a game called Trials of the Blood Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if I remember rightly, is a Trials game, but set in the same psychedelic, weird, fucked up art style.
That's so good.
Just using the same kind of approach.
Well, it sounds brilliant.
It is.
I might have to watch the videos online then if I can't get hold of the game itself.
I'm sure you could get it on your PC. We'll set you up with some kind of play session somehow.
That sounds blooming marvellous.
But yeah, Blood Dragon was a bit special. And I'm sure I've ignored lots of things in 2013, but that was what was piquing my interest that year.
Well, it sounds dead good.
Tell me about yours.
Do you know this game?
I don't. That's why I'm asking you.
I'm not going to say too much about it because I want to do an episode on it and I could talk about it literally forever.
This is a theme. Here's a game I won't tell you about. Look forward to season 2.
Okay, so my game of 2013 came out on my sister's birthday. I played it all in one sitting. She was really not pleased.
Okay.
DMC Devil May Cry.
Nice.
It is literally, I think it's probably my favourite Devil May Cry game, and I'm a massive fan of the franchise.
Wait, is that not the first one then?
No.
I don't know about Devil May Cry that much.
No.
So they just made like a new thing and they called it DMC just to sort of simplify it.
So Devil May Cry was in the early 2000s and it was made by, the original creator was Hideki Kamiya. DMC Devil May Cry was a reboot that was, Capcom were like, we'd like to reboot the franchise. And so they gave those rights to Ninja Theory, who are of Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, Enslaved fame. Very, absolutely incredible studio. And the director is Tammy Antoniades. Mm-hmm. I hope I have said his name correctly.
Who could forget Antoniades?
He is a awesome guy. And so this was a reimagining of the whole kind of Devil May Cry franchise. Because by this point we'd had Devil May Cry 1 to 4, I think it was. It was either 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. And this was a reimagining of it. So yeah, I finished this in one sitting on my sister's birthday. So this is about, if you're not sure about Devil May Cry.
No, tell me.
In the original Devil May Cry, it was about a demon hunter called Dante, who was half human, half demon, who was trying to find this demon called Mundus that had imprisoned his father, the legendary Dark Knight Sparda, and was going to send demons into the world and take over the world.
Brutal.
In the later Devil May Crys, it kind of transpires that you have a twin brother, and while you fight for good, your twin brother fights for evil.
Not again.
I know, and the evil twin is always the hottest. So in DMC, you play Dante, our friend Dante, but he's just like, he's just like a bit more streetwise, a bit like maybe younger, a bit cockier. He's just like got a grit to him. Like the original Devil May Cry's were very gothic, gorgeous music, very gothic. And Dante was always like an overconfident, like demon hunter guy, which was just great. Absolutely love that. And, you know, as I mentioned in another podcast, Devil May Cry was what Resident Evil 3.5 was.
Yes.
So this edition of it is just very like almost streetwise is how I'd explain it.
Okay.
It's almost like they've brought it into the contemporary world, but it still has that kind of stylish edge to it that the original Devil May Cry did. So my favourite level in it is, because the story is almost the same, that you're Dante, the demon hunter, who was trying to find this demon Mundus who imprisoned your father and killed your mum. And
I mean, we all know that.
you have a hot twin brother.
Yeah. Are you self-conscious about the hotness of your brother?
Yeah, they have a bit of banter about it.
Okay.
I think that's one of the things that I liked so much about DMC. I was such a huge fan of the series that when I'd seen it and seen how different it was, it worried me. But I played it and it just felt like it's what Devil May Cry should always have been. And it's such a strange feeling. And so, yeah, the brothers would have banter and they'd like take the piss out of each other. And like, it was just really charming and really easy to get sucked into the world that Ninja Theory had created. Now, my favorite level is a nightclub level where you have to fight this big demon that's kind of constrained into a leather dress.
Okay.
So you're kind of going through this nightclub and there's flashing lights and load of music and like the platforms are warping to the music and it's all a bit like kind of funky and surreal. And in one of my previous jobs, I just so happened to be talking about how amazing I thought this game was and how this was one of my favorite levels. And the guy I was talking to was like, oh, yeah, I used to work at Ninja Theory and I designed that level.
What?
And it's based on a nightclub in Nottingham. And me from being up north was like, oh, what nightclub? And when he told me, I was like, holy moly, that's incredible. That'll be why I liked it so much.
Had you been there?
Yeah, I think it was Rock City. I can't remember exactly the place now, but I remember at the time it being very familiar.
That's so strange, isn't it?
So,
wow.
Yeah, and there's also a really great boss fight with a newsreader as well.
The newsreader.
There was just...
Like you do.
The thing about DMC was that the combat was effortless. Like I was saying about Prototype, where you just so easily felt like a badass. In this, it was so easy to chain your like combos and switch weapons mid combos. You had this hook shot that would like latch onto enemies and bring them in close to you, and you could just combo it to death.
Nice.
Or you could lasso your way up there. Like, oh, it was just the best. I still play it like maybe once a year. Just pop on 360, play some DMC again because it's just brilliant. That's my game of 2013. Sorry, sis. I played it all day. Nice. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So 2014. Oh, and just one weird thing before we move on.
Go on.
Which I didn't know until I was researching for this podcast. The writer is Alex Garland.
Oh.
As of the Beach fame.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, there we go. 2014.
What was your runner-up, though, 2013? Or did you already say that?
Didn't have one.
This
is all I played.
Did not have one.
I mean, Surgeon Simulator was knocking about, which was always a laugh. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, DMC was the one.
All right. So, I'm going to take us to 2014.
You are?
Now, I'm going to tell you my runner-up first. Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Great game.
Great game.
That was the first game I played for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, one of the first ones I played as well.
Really great game.
Yeah, I think I played Far Cry 4 and that back-to-back at some point. But yeah, Wolfenstein: New Order was just an amazing reimagining of the whole Wolfenstein story. Really great artwork. Really good gunplay. Everything felt really big and chunky and like basically what you want out of a game like that. I just loved it. I thought it was fucking great. But, Liz, if you'll accompany me to the Yacht Club.
The Yacht Club?
Yeah.
Yacht Simulator?
No. Yacht Club Games.
Yacht Club.
Shovel Knight.
Oh, Shovel Knight.
Love me some Shovel Knight.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
It's just a beautiful... What if an 8-bit Nintendo game was made in the modern era?
Aww.
And they absolutely smashed it. Great design, really simple mechanic. You are
what is the mechanic?
Knight. You're a knight who has a shovel, and you can use that shovel as kind of a pogo stick thing. or you can bash stuff with it. That's basically it.
And what are you trying to achieve?
You're just meant to be a bit of a slightly lame knight, but you're kind of rising to the challenge.
Oh, he doesn't sound lame.
I think that's the general emphasis of it. But yeah, so you're just platforming, and there's quite a lore to it because there's been a bunch of other games since, and they make them all about like the main characters. The Shovel Knight.
Yeah, did it have a selection of DLC that was based on all of the bosses?
Exactly,
it? Yeah.
exactly. Oh yeah, so Plague of Shadows, Spectre of Torment, and King of Cards. And also a multiplayer fighting game, Shovel Knight Showdown.
Never heard of that.
No, not heard of that either. But yeah, it was very special and it was very authentic. And I played it all on Vita.
Nice.
Loved my Vita so much. Yeah,
I think it had a boxed version on Limited Run as well, didn't it?
It did.
It had a vinyl and a box version.
I mean, it's only just effectively finished, quote unquote, 5 years later. Like the last Shovel Knight related game, I think, has just shipped a few months ago, even.
It's a classic.
But yeah, it's a classic. Great gameplay, beautiful, colourful, authentic as hell. Really dug it. That is a shovel.
I enjoyed that. That was good.
You're welcome.
That was a good put.
Liz, tell me about your 2014, please.
My 2014, the runner-up is PT, which was Hideo Kojima's playable teaser for what would have been Silent Hills.
Is that what it stands for?
Yeah.
Playable teaser.
Playable teaser.
PT.
Yeah.
Never knew that. Always wondered what that meant.
Love PT.
That's less impressive than I thought. Like, psycho.
Torment.
Trauma.
Psycho trauma. Maybe that's what it is. Could be making it up.
Playable teaser.
My game of 2014.
Go on.
And again, I want to do an episode on this. Because, I mean, the thing is about first feedback is what we say is that it can't have been within the last 5 years because of spoilers and things.
Yes.
So this is just on the
because
cusp,
of our
isn't
vague reasons, but yeah.
So, Telltale Games,
Oh.
The Wolf Among Us.
Oh, interesting.
Absolutely love this game. Just seen recently that there is going to be a sequel.
Nice. Oh, hang on though. Is that with pretend new Telltale Games?
I don't think it's Telltale. I'm not sure who the developer is.
Oh, okay.
I just saw that there was the announcement for Wolf 2, but I didn't look too much more into it.
Righto. Do you want to give a bit of background on the whole Fables link?
Yeah, so The Wolf Among Us is based on the Fables comics that were written by Bill Willingham. They finished in 2015 with 110 issues in the genre of dark fantasy.
It's true.
So if you describe the premise of The Wolf Among Us, which is about fairy tale characters that have been exiled and had to live in 1980s New York, it sounds like, oh, that could be quite pleasant. But The Wolf Among Us, as is the theme with most of the games I enjoy, is just a bit gritty and a little bit nasty. You're kind of like in the underbelly of New York, and you play as Sheriff Bigby, the big bad wolf, who is trying to keep law and order in Fabletown. Is it Fabletown?
Yeah, I think so.
And there is somebody who is systematically picking off the inhabitants of Fabletown. So it's your job to find out who is doing this.
Nice.
And it is just incredible.
So it's like Heavy Rain, but we're wolf.
Yeah, there's the theme of games I like, isn't there, really? And just the art style. The art style is very beautiful. It's like very comic book, thick lines.
Is it cell shading?
Heavy cell shading, yeah. And Ryan Kaufman was the creative director on that. He is great. Just, if you're on the Twitters, give him a follow. He always has great things to say. He is Mr. Fox.
What,
Kindred Foxes, yeah. He's amazing. And so Telltale did, as with most of their games, The Wolf Among Us episodically. So yes, the first Wolf Among Us did come out in 2013, and I did pick this up once I'd finished playing the hell out of Devil May Cry. But the final episode was released in 2014, so that's why it's my game of 2014.
I will allow it. That's good.
Wonderful story, great characters, beautiful art style, very memorable art style. I think it's just very striking, and just the colour palette of like the purples and pinks, and it's just very of its era, and just it, you know, like how you were saying earlier about how everything comes together. The music, the art style, the story. I think for me, Wolf Among Us is one of the most perfect examples
that creative
of
direction.
where that whole creative direction just comes together into this perfect kind of point.
Sweet.
So that's my 2014 Wolf Among Us and PT. It was a good year.
So for 2015, Liz,
Yours.
My runner-up
What
is,
is
Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful game. It's the last proper Metal Gear we'll probably ever get.
I love Miller.
Yeah.
You know the blonde guy, Miller.
Is his name
He
Miller?
played as like a damn fiddle. Yeah, that's him.
It's okay.
It's him. He's my favourite character. He's always so angry. You know, every time you go back to the base, like, you're right, Miller. He's like, I've had the worst day. Like, flinging his crutches around. He's just always so angry.
I've had the worst day.
Just wanted to pacify him all the time.
Couldn't do my Sudoku.
Yeah, he used to really heighten my anxiety levels. But he was great. Anyway, sorry, that wasn't your favourite, was it?
That's not my favourite. My favourite, which consumed the entire year and some of the next year, is Rocket League.
No way, really? I
By
was not expecting that.
Psyonix.
So that was 2015.
It was.
Tell us more.
So Rocket League, I mean, it's kind of a phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
It's made Psyonix lots and lots and lots of money. They've done lots of great tie-ins with film and TV franchises. They ended up getting bought by Epic, and they've joined the Epic Games stable, I guess you could say. But yeah, Rocket League started out PS4. It was a little indie thing. Then it kind of blew up because they put it into PS Plus 1 month. And so everyone on PS Plus, and it just kind of it rocketed.
That was good. That was good.
But yeah, it's a wonderful game. It's basically football with cars.
I have played it maybe twice, and I think it's one of those games that it's really hard to get good at.
Yeah, but you can get to like just about good enough.
Yeah.
And you can. There's like play styles.
Okay.
Like you can. Like I'm not good at it because the people who are good at it can fly well.
Oh yeah.
But I can't.
I can't.
It's all about like jumping a certain amount and then taking off and having the right amount of boost left to glide and collide with the ball at the right time. It's too much for me to deal with.
Yeah.
But you can also play in, a different way. If you're playing on a team of 3 or 4 even, you can afford to be the one that's just kind of dicking around, griefing the hell out of everyone.
Yeah, that'd be me.
Or just hanging about by the goal trying to go for glory and see what happens. But yeah, it's just a fun game. It's really great couch co-op as well. We used to play it on the projector at work quite a lot. And I remember playing with Mo and making him very angry that I wasn't playing in the way that he would like me to. God bless him. But yeah, it's just, it's a game that's endured a lot. And then they brought it out on Switch as well, which I thought was amazing.
I didn't realise it was on Switch.
Yeah, and you can play you can play with like a really, I remember, I don't know why this is important, but it kind of surprised me. You could play on a really crap internet connection and still play online. Like I played it on my parents' dial-up when I was back home once. I was just like, how am I playing Rocket League on a tiny handheld device on a crappy internet connection and having a great time? And it's just a testament to what a great game it is. And
what are the TV tie-ins?
TV, I'm struggling. I was kind of generalising, so maybe I'm wrong. But they did Back to the Future and other things like that.
All the car skins and stuff.
Yeah, they've done Fast and Furious and some other stuff. And it's really good.
It is a good game.
Really
it's a
great.
classic, isn't it?
Yeah. It's quite enduring. I think it will run on for a long time. And then I assume they'll make a crazy next-gen one for PlayStation 5 or whatever comes next.
Woot woot.
Indeed. What about you? What about your 2015?
Oh, 2015. My runner-up for 2015, and you could hardly call it a runner-up because it's a masterpiece, is The Witcher 3.
Oh. I
Just
thought it was going to be your main.
No.
It's just your starter.
No, it's just my starter. If there's any horror involved, that's always going to pip the post. Is that the saying? Pip to post? Yeah. So
Get pipped to the post.
Get pipped to
Metro?
post.
Is it Metro?
Great game. I've only played the first one, but no, it's not Metro.
Okay. Trying to think what came out around the same time as Witcher.
I can drop some clues.
Go on then.
So it had the same composer as Dead Space, our friend Jason Graves.
Okay.
It starred Peter Stormare of John Wick 2, Fargo and Armageddon fame as a psychiatrist.
Until Dawn.
Yeah.
I forget how much you love Until Dawn.
I have played Until Dawn.
Until Dawn?
Until Dawn more times than I want to admit.
Right.
Every day? No. That'd be mad. Until Dawn is an absolute masterpiece, in my opinion.
Very well.
So you play a bunch of friends who all go and stay in a cabin in the mountains and think that you're being stalked by a murderer who's like killing you off one by one. But it takes a bit of a supernatural turn. And because I'm such a huge fan of the British horror film The Descent...
Oh my goodness.
Such
a great film.
What the ending of Until Dawn turns out to be, and the actual ending scene...
Are you going to spoil the game right now?
I don't really want to, because it's 2015, it's not forever ago.
Yeah, I'd still want to play it, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't want to do any spoilers from from 2015 onwards.
All right.
Everyone dies in the end. Well, they can. So the beauty of Until Dawn is that you, depending on your actions and the relationships that you build with your friends, you can all die. There is one person who always dies.
Ah.
I think you can all die. I can't remember. I'm trying to think how it played out for me. There's definitely one character who always dies because they were my favourite and I really felt sorry for them and did everything I could to keep them alive, but it's impossible to.
Like Norman with his drugs.
It's always the same, isn't it?
For you, apparently.
Oh, gosh, I can't.
Don't get so attached.
I just get emotionally attached. So, yeah, it was created by Supermassive Games, a UK developer in Guildford, and published by Sony. It starred Rami Malek of Bohemian Rhapsody and Mr. Robot fame.
True.
He was actually my favourite character in it. That's a spoiler, I'm sorry.
What, in case people were wondering and they've played the game and find out who your favourite character was?
No, I've just said what happens.
Credits.
I've just said what is the consequence of him being my favourite.
Oh, they're going to know who it is?
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone will remember that bizarre, twisted way of explaining that detail. Thank you, Liz.
And Hayden Panettiere, is that how you say her name? Who was the
Panettiere?
Yeah, the cheerleader in Heroes.
Indeed.
She's also in it. She plays Sam. She is a great character. So it is just so beautifully put together. Just the motion capture, the faces of the characters is just astounding. The story, the way that it twists and it has this supernatural edge, I just absolutely loved. And the final scene. The final scene is just like the climax of a very good horror movie, which is obviously what they're going for. It's very cinematic. Absolutely love Until Dawn. I think it's incredible. It was 2015. Go play it. I'm not going to say any more. I'm not going to spoil anymore.
I would go and play it. Maybe you should lend it to me.
I will.
Yeah.
So, as I said, Peter Stormare plays the analyst. So in between each kind of chapter of you and your friends, if a big event has occurred, you find yourself in an office with the psychiatrist and he says some scary mumbo jumbo to you and then he gives you some choices. So you can choose. There's a particular one where you've got a book in front of you that's got all the characters in it and you have to choose who is your favourite in those. Yeah, so you use the touchpad on the PlayStation 4 to flip the pages and then you can click.
Liz was miming something with her thumb.
Oh, yeah.
It's
like I was playing it because I've got that weird reflex to play it so much. Yeah. And so depending on who you say you like the most, then something bad happens to them, obviously. So it's just cool little twists in there. Like in Silent Hill Shattered Memory, it did something very similar. Shattered Memories, it did something very similar where you speak with a psychiatrist in between the key plot points. And there's a bit in Shattered Memories where the psychiatrist says, draw your perfect house. So you do a little sketch and it has if you do pink walls and it has a brown roof and it has a front door here, whatever. And then the next scene opens up and it's says at the bottom, like your home or whatever. And it's the house you've just drawn.
Wow.
It's
weird.
That kind of, it's very emotive, isn't it? You feel like you're very involved with the fates of what's going on and the characters involved in the story. Cool. Until Dawn is great.
Apparently. If I remember rightly from early podcasts, you talked about playing it with your mum.
My mum loves Until Dawn.
My
mum absolutely loves Until Dawn.
Not a keen gamer.
She's not a keen gamer, but Until Dawn, any of the Telltale games, Final Fantasy 15, she
loves the story.
She likes the story and she'll just sit and get involved. She really disliked Emily in Until Dawn. So Emily is she comes across very spoiled, very overconfident young lady. And my mum would always be like, she needs talking to. She does, like almost like where are her parents? Yeah, my mum loves Until Dawn. We played it through together a couple of times.
Oh, that's sweet.
She, one thing that like caused a little bit of a rift between a friend and I.
An Oculus Rift.
Was that the character that I really cared about and wanted to save and make a difference for.
Norman.
Was in a bit of a situation where you could let him go or clobber him with a piece of wood.
Right.
And my friend was controlling at the time because we used to pass the controller between. This was my friend
Standard.
Heather. And I was like, Heather, just let him go. Like, look at him, you just let him go. And she just clobbered him. And she looked at me as she pressed the button. You know, like when a cat knocks something off the side.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Heather.
Complete confidence.
Yeah, I was just like, Heather, like, I'm getting a bit upset now.
Oh dear.
Don't hit him with the block of wood. Just don't do it.
Come on, Heather.
2016 now.
Yeah. What an incredible segue. Come on, Heather, 2016. Well, Liz, 2016 is definitely out of all of the years in the decade, the one I found the most difficult to pick.
That was creepy, sorry.
Really? Yes, Liz. Thanks for asking.
2016 has one of my favourite games in it.
Okay.
So you can't have played it.
What, because I don't like any of your games?
Yeah.
Hence the premise of the show. Yes, that's true. Right, I got 2 runners-up.
Oh.
First one, Doom 2016.
Yeah.
It's just excellent. If you're not familiar with Doom 2016, then you missed an absolutely classic, beautifully tuned return to form for a series, best-in-class first-person shooter. My other runner-up, which I was really torn, and I kind of maybe almost leaned towards this rather than the one I chose, but I'm not sure, is Firewatch.
Yes. I've never finished it, but I did enjoy what I played.
You didn't finish it?
I didn't finish Firewatch. I didn't.
I think I did it in a couple of sittings, maybe 3 or 4 sittings. But yeah, I really adored Firewatch. It's one of those games where you just get so involved in the story. You don't need to see the characters. You don't ever see the characters. They're all on CB radio, and it's just the backstory at the start where you're like, oh, something's going on, and this guy's lost someone, so he's gone and taken this job in the wilderness to kind of, get away from all the things that happened to him. And then stuff that's weird that's going on that you don't quite understand, if there's something sinister or it's not sinister and it's actually fine. And it's just a wonderful little mystery of a game, and I cannot recommend it more. It just, it got me.
Aww.
I had a little tear just
I'll
rolling down. It was really nice. But Elizabeth, the game that I chose in 2016.
Give me a clue. I want to try and guess it.
Okay, Limbs.
Inside.
Yep.
Inside's a fantastic game.
Yeah, Inside by Playdead, who also made Limbo, I mentioned earlier. Limzo. So Inside is, it's such a bizarre, wonderful creation.
No spoilers.
I mean, I don't even know if you can spoil it. You start out as a little boy who just seems to be running away from something in the woods in a very monotone, mostly black and white world.
Genuine sense of urgency at the beginning, though. In the van and the dogs. It's
just beautifully timed, really creepy. Not creepy in the kind of almost gothic way that Limbo was, but more in a kind of like supernatural, more like a
ethereal.
Like David Cronenberg kind of way. Yeah, just a bloody awesome game. It's hard to not give spoilers, but basically you're going through I guess maybe a small town almost, going, always from left to right. You're not really moving in depth, but there's something going on in this town. There's obviously like an organization that's running almost again like the sort of Brookhaven experiment type things are happening. And it's all kind of going off in the background, and you're just kind of one person sneaking through. I always think of it as like a game in which you're almost an extra in a movie, and the movie is going off in the distance, and you're just trying to survive the repercussions that are happening to extras.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Do you mean like if there was a zombie outbreak and there was like the key cast that were fighting through the zombie apocalypse, and this is one guy that was the survivor? That's kind of
it's like somewhere in the background in the game, there's the stereotypical hero with the gun, kind of chasing down all of the worst parts of everything that's going on, but then you're just sort of getting picked off. It's what I loved about The Mist, the Stephen King's The Mist. It's sad film. It's one of the most horrific films ever made.
It really is.
Always will be. But it's the kind of thing where you feel like a bit like Cloverfield as well.
Yeah,
like there's a big horrific thing going on, and you're these tertiary characters that are experiencing bits of the literal fallout. And that's kind of how I felt about Inside. Feels really great to play. It's a bit less floaty in its mechanics than Limbo, but they play on it really well. So like the physics and the urgency of getting on some bits where you can be drowned by this creepy swimming witch thing.
I don't remember that.
Oh, it's horrible. She could just swim a lot faster than you could. And so that feeling of like button mashing, trying to get out of the water before she could pull you down was just horrible. But I played that game in one sitting.
Yeah.
Front to back. Could not put it down. It was incredible.
Yeah, it is a great game.
I think it could even be like my favourite game out of the whole list. But I'm not going to spoil the others. It's just very special. But yeah, that's my 2016. Liz, tell me yours.
So, we're in 2016.
Remember it well.
I'd been a huge fan of this franchise for a while, but I'd probably not played any from the franchise for about 6 years. And hadn't thought much about it. So, for one of my previous jobs, when I was helping to promote the Batman Arkham VR game, I was working at a great festival, if you ever get to go, which is Lucca Comics and Games, which is in Italy. So Lucca is like this beautiful little like fort town that once a year they turn into effectively just a huge Comic-Con.
Nice.
And then they very recently, well, not very recently, it's been a few years, but started introducing games into that as well. So I'd not really thought much of it, but I like Lucca Comics and Games is one of the most beautiful events I've ever been to. In the museum, which is almost in the centre of Lucca, Square Enix had overtaken this building and turned it into an art exhibition for their upcoming game, Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, okay. There we go.
So I thought, you know what? I've not played Final Fantasy for a while. I'm not interested. Let's go and see what it's all about. And this art exhibition was absolutely incredible. And it had the music from the game. It had the latest trailer, which was beautiful. It's a trailer called The Omen, which you should totally check out if you've not seen, which has a lot of hints to the story of the game. It had the anime being played, which you could watch, called The Brotherhood, which is great. And you could play the first 15 minutes of the game. And then afterwards you came outside, and you've probably seen, if you follow me on Twitter, a picture of me carrying a big sword.
Oh, is that what that is?
That was the Final Fantasy 15 exhibition at Lucca Comics and Games. And thus started an obsession which still is going on. So Final Fantasy 15 is just beautiful. And there's a lot of elements to it which I just found so familiar. So when you start the game, it's like Final Fantasy 15, a game for fans and newcomers, kind of. And
it literally says that? Or?
It says something to that effect.
Oh, okay.
And it has so many things that are so familiar to me, especially from Final Fantasy 8. And so I started having a little look into it. And there's a lot of still the creative team from Final Fantasy 8 who worked on this game. And so there's a lot of elements in it which are just very familiar. A lot of the character tropes, I guess. So Squall, who's your stoic loner, is kind of like your Prince Noctis in this scenario. And you have Prompto, who is my favourite, who's like your sunshine sidekick. He's always really happy and got things to like say to like pep up the team. He's kind of like your Zell from Final Fantasy VIII. I just saw a lot of parallels that it was so familiar to me. I just instantly fell in love with the world and the characters. And I just absolutely loved the story. And the whole heart of the game is that you are a brotherhood, effectively. So you are a king who is going to meet your beloved, your betrothed, and continue this lineage which keeps the world safe by keeping this bargain with the gods. So there's one bloodline that guards the crystal, and there's one bloodline that can speak to the gods, and a marriage between these bloodlines is what kind of keeps the gods happy.
Right.
So you're going to keep this alive, and it doesn't go to plan, and it's about you all pulling together as friends and brothers and overcoming all the awfulness that life throws at you. And it is just perfect. And once I'd finished it, I had an emptiness because the story was so strong and poignant. And if you've ever had a friendship group that you have known forever, which I have, it really hits your heartstrings because you can identify each member of the group. Because obviously each of the characters has got their trait. So you've got Noctis, who's your stoic kind of cocky one. You've got Ignis, who's the sensible one. Gladio, who's the one that's like the muscle. And then Prompto, who's the one who he just keeps the team together. Do you know what I mean? He's the hype man. He's the hype man, and he's my favourite. And you can pick out all of those traits in your friendship groups, and you kind of almost put yourself, when you're going through the scenario with Noctis, you almost put your friends in that scenario, and you're just like, oh my gosh, how would this be? So by the end of the story, you feel like you've lived it. And it just does that beautifully.
Wow.
GDC 2017 was a goldmine for me. There were so many talks about the AI of how they did Prompto's photography. So Prompto takes photos throughout the game. Right. And this just adds again to like the feeling that you are living this adventure with your friends. The sentimental
attachment.
Yeah. So there was a lot of really good talks and about the music. So 2017, 2016 were, I just played nothing but Final Fantasy 15.
Did you have
incredible?
Did you have a second favourite?
No.
Wow, that was an insulted face.
No.
How dare I ask
I still
that?
play it. I absolutely love it. So they did loads of DLC afterwards. They did DLC for each of the characters. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. I think it's an absolute gem.
Very well.
There's a lot I could say about it. There's always a lot to say about Final Fantasies, isn't there? So
and there's a lot you have said about it.
Yeah, I'll start.
2017, Liz. It's my year of the Switch, which is why I chose Super Mario Odyssey.
Is that with his hat?
It's with his hat.
I played it a little bit, but not anything in depth.
I've played all the way through. I mean, it's another 3D Mario game, but it's like the next big one after Sunshine, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Wait, was Galaxy? No, Galaxy was after Sunshine, wasn't it? Yeah, next after Galaxy. But anyway, it's just perfect for the Switch and the feel of Nintendo at the time.
Yeah.
And just making Mario relevant again and it becoming a bit of an overnight phenomenon and everybody talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, talk shows and Twitter and everything else, you know, it's just one of those things that you had to play. And I bought a Switch to play it.
Really?
So I was like, I want to experience this thing. I was never into Zelda really. So I never really, you know, got the impetus to buy a Switch for Zelda.
Love a bit of Zelda.
So I waited for the Mario game and I was not disappointed.
Is it co-op as well? Can one of you play the hat?
No, because the hat is you. You are one with the hat.
Oh.
You throw the hat onto things to take them over.
What do you mean? Like possess them?
Yeah. It's a very weird, creepy thing.
What's the actual mechanic? Like, what are you what are your goals and how are you? Yeah.
I feel like Mario at the job centre.
What are your goals and how are you achieving them? Stop throwing your hat at me.
Trying to do the usual, just to beat Bowser and his little Bowsettes, his little kids.
All these squidges.
But the hat, basically, Bowser comes along, he steals Mrs. Hat and Princess Peach, or something like that. And
he needs to pack it in with that, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Mrs. Hat?
Yeah, this is the thing. There's Hat and there's Mrs. Hat.
Right.
And so you team up with Hat, and if you put Hat on... I don't, this is a bit mental. It's a land of hats, and you're friends with one of them. And so you take the hat with you, and you can throw it, and it spins around like a little boomerang, and then comes back, and you can put it back on. Or you can throw it and sort of take things over. So you can take over enemies and get them and walk around as them doing stuff.
Okay.
And then you can jump back out of them again.
That's cool.
It's just a really great mechanic, and they do so much with it.
Like good puzzles.
Yeah, really good puzzles. Like there's bits where you're like, you can take over, the little Goombas, the little mushroom guys.
Yeah, I like them.
Take over one of them.
Uh-huh.
Then you go and jump on one.
Yeah.
Then you're taking over two of them in a stack.
Oh,
and
you
you just keep stacking them up until you can jump out of the top of them onto a ledge. It's great.
That's really cool.
It's so much fun, man. I loved it. So yeah, Super Mario Odyssey, absolutely wonderful. Very close runner-up, but I didn't go for it because I didn't technically play it till the next year, I think. Was Horizon Zero Dawn.
Do you know I've totally missed Horizon Zero Dawn?
Oh my goodness.
And
you would love it.
I know I would. Everybody keeps telling me I would as well.
Yeah.
But
we need to just back off, I think.
I think...
Let you live without it.
You need to let me get Final Fantasy 15 out of my system and then I'll move on to other games.
That might be a while.
Yeah. It's on my list. I have got so many people who've said, Liz, how have you not played this? The story's incredible. It's right up your street. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And Aloy looks like dead good as well.
She is dead good. Liz, tell me about your 2018, please.
2017.
Yep. That's the year we're on, isn't it?
Now, this game is...
Is it?
This game made me so emotional.
So erosional.
Erosional, like a rock.
Yeah, you managed to destroy it with rain over a period of years.
The vein of my tears. This game, it was totally unexpected. So this was created by Giant Sparrow, who created The Unfinished Swan, which if you haven't played it, it's a beautiful little game, and published by Annapurna. And it won the BAFTA for Best Game in 2017, What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh, okay.
I have never played a game like this.
I've never played that game.
Will, you need to play this game because it's not a game that you can describe to anybody. You just have to experience it.
Could you describe it to that microphone?
So the whole premise of What Remains of Edith Finch is that I'm kind of a bit emotional thinking about it. Honestly, I've not had a game that's made me this emotional for so long.
Right.
So What Remains of Edith Finch...
The level is totes right now.
...is you play Edith, who is going back to her family home as the only remaining member of her family. And you go through each room in the house of where each one of your family members lived or had a memory. And you play effectively a mini-game, although mini-game is a very offensive way to put it.
I hear what you're saying.
Which tells the story of that family member and how they came to fall to the Finch curse, where they die. They die young. That's what the curse is. And so as you uncover more and more about each family member, you kind of learn more about Edith as you're going. And
Wait, are you Edith?
You play Edith.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And the ending is, I saw the ending coming. A lot of my friends didn't, but I saw the ending coming, which I think is probably why it affected me the way that it did. And when you realise the ending and the game ends, I can't remember the last game that touched me as emotionally as What Remains of Edith Finch did, apart from Final Fantasy 15. So 2017 and 2016, quite emotional years for me.
Apparently.
So, for example, let's talk about a couple of the mini-games. So my two mini-games, I'm not going to spoil the ending of them because you need to play it. But your family member Lewis, who is somebody who has been suffering from substance abuse, and once he goes to rehab and comes off said substances, he realises how mundane his life is. And so he starts to fall into depression.
Wow.
The game that you play for Lewis is he works in a fish factory.
A fish factory?
Well, like a canning factory.
Oh, okay. Just imagine
That's how fish are made.
Yeah, there's just a production line. They get the main bit, they get the fins, and they get the tail, and they just stick it all together.
Don't forget the teeth.
And then they pop the teeth in and chuck it in the sea. That's the fish factory.
And that's the minigame. I mean, it just made me really cry. So you start by just controlling his right arm. So you grab the fish, you use the analog to put the fish to the side, chop off its head, you push up on the analog to throw it onto the conveyor belt. So just like 2 movements.
Chomp, chomp.
Chomp, chomp, head off on the conveyor belt. And then you start to get this image forming in the top left of the screen, which is his subconscious of the life that he wants.
Right.
And so it starts off with him in a maze, and the words are forming on the screen and kind of tumbling along the maze of like, this is the life he wants. So then you have to control the little character in the maze. So you're using the left analog stick to control the character in the maze, and you're still using the right analog stick to take the fish, cut its head off.
Oh my God, weird.
And so at first you're really disjointed and you're really confused and you're like, what's going on? I can't do this. But as you start to play and what he wants to be starts to take up more of the screen, you realise that you're just doing that movement in the fish factory without even thinking while you're playing the other side.
Oh,
and
that's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's just so perfectly depicts how this character is meant to feel.
Wow.
Like you're instantly in his shoes, and it's just so powerful.
Nice.
I'm not going to tell you how it ends.
No.
It'll make you cry. I mean, there's a family curse, they all die. So the other one
and each family member was the fish.
Yeah.
And he was the one who chopped all their heads off.
What remains of Edith Fish? So, my favourite story is that of Barbara. Barbara is a child. Barbara Fish. Bob Fish was a child actress who, as she grew up and realised that she wasn't famous anymore, she kind of started craving the life of the child actress that she used to be. And she used to be in horror films and was very famous for her scream. So the whole idea of this is that her boyfriend set up a scenario in which it would scare her and she would scream, but it ended in her murder. And the way that you find out about Barbara is you go into her room and you pick up a comic book that's based on her. And as you're reading the comic book, you then start to control the character in the comic book panes.
Right.
It's almost like, it is. It's a living comic. You're controlling the comic and playing through the panes, and the story is unfolding by you turning the pages of this comic book and it's just, so, I'm not doing it justice in the way I describe it, but it's just so smart and so slick and so powerful. And if you haven't played What Remains of Edith Finch, it's not very often I'm like, play this game because I really like it, but definitely please just play What Remains of Edith Finch. It's an absolute masterpiece.
Maybe I will do that tomorrow. Right. Elizabeth.
Last 2 years now.
Last 2 years, things are heating up. Now, I'm going to tell you about my runner-up first this time.
For the 2018.
For 2018. I really, really enjoyed this game. Very, very short.
Yes.
Mobile game.
Yes.
There's a curveball for you. Florence.
I never played Florence.
Florence is lovely.
Is it?
It's the best way I can describe it. It's just a very lovely little relationship story. It's very much like, have you seen the film 500 Days of Summer?
No.
You should watch that film.
I don't watch or play anything to do with romance. And I should play it. I know I should. I should break the mold of the games that I always play.
Yeah,
but
I think it's good.
Rom-com or anything that's to do with relationships, it just doesn't interest me.
Because there's no chance of anyone getting chopped in half.
Yeah.
There's Mercury playing to
There's
type.
no zombies.
Wait a minute, Liz. Speaking of getting chopped in half, my main pick of the year, Beat Saber.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw the perfect segue. I went for it.
Are you good at it though?
No, not really. Doesn't make it any less fun, does it? No, Beat Saber's great. It's just one of those perfect things. It's like a Tetris or a whatever simple gameplay mechanic that's just perfectly nailed.
The music's your jam as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I love music, and yeah, just you're playing with two lightsabers, and it's very tactile when you slice things. The controllers vibrate, and it just feels great. And it's that sort of like very electro-y kind of aesthetic as well. One of my games from previous, or maybe it was the previous year, I'm not too sure, is Thumper, which is an incredible game.
Thumper is an incredible game. I recently bought it for the Switch as well. I had it on PS4, but I bought it for the Switch.
I had it on, I think I played it on the Oculus Rift to begin with, which really made me feel horrendous.
Really?
Like I could only play it for like a few minutes, And then I just felt so motion sick because it's, you know, it's an endless kind of arcing, you're this weird scarab beetle thing on a track. And like, it's really hard to describe this game.
Yeah.
But it's amazing visuals, not like any other game you'll ever see. And the music's incredible. It's by one of the two guys who was in a band called Lightning Bolt. If you ever remember them. They were kind of like a weird hardcore band with just a really heavy distorted bass and a drummer. And yeah, then turned to doing this game dev. But it's just a really unique game. But anyway, the mechanic simplicity of that is what reminded me of Beat Saber. And I really adored Beat Saber and I still play it. It's still like one of my like top 3 VR games up there with Super Hot and Budget Cuts.
Will you tell me a little bit more about Florence? Because I feel like I just totally dismissed it, and I should, for 2020, I should play.
Well, it's because you were talking about Edith Finch reminded me of a bit of Florence in the sense that it's kind of like, imagine just like a visual comic and you're kind of playing through it and there's bits that are interactive. And again, it's disingenuous to call them mini games.
Yeah.
But you're kind of piecing together the bits about how the characters feel about each other at every stage throughout their relationship. Mm-hmm. And there's just like really, there's nothing challenging about it. It's not a difficult game. There's nothing confusing. It's just, you're just kind of dragging around puzzle pieces to like cement bits of their relationship. And it's all about like converging and repelling and those emotions in a relationship over time and how two people can change and either grow together or grow apart in different ways. That's how I would explain it. And it probably take you maximum 20 minutes to play it.
Really?
That's why you should play it.
I'll play that. That's going to be my 2020 breaking my mold of only playing RPGs and horror games.
Yeah, it's definitely not that.
Okay, I'm going to do it.
Tell me about your 2018. The penultimate year.
The penultimate year. So my runner-up is Astrobot Rescue Mission.
Okay.
Which is just a beautiful, charming little virtual reality game. PSVR game made by Sony Japan Studio.
Oh, I do know what you mean. Yes.
It's just beautiful. And so you are third person following this little Astrobot around with his little cape and he waves at you and you just want to pet him and love him. And you're just saving your little bots. And one of the first bosses is a monkey who you have to pull his teeth out. It's just fantastic.
What?
And so in VR, this monkey kind of shakes the building and pulls himself up and you see these 2 big hands come down and then these big teeth. And then you have to like grapple the teeth out of his mouth. It's just very pleasant, very enjoyable to play, lovely world to be virtually reality'd in.
Cool.
But my game of 2018 is not a surprise, given the number of narrative-driven games that I've mentioned in the last few years, is David Cage's Detroit.
Become Human.
So this is for...
I still haven't played this game. I played really the demo. Good. I told you I played the demo. I really liked the demo.
Yeah, and there was the technical demo Tara for the PS3 as well. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
So for the PS3, Quantic Dream did a demo called Tara, which was... It showed the assembling of an android and her coming to life. And then the machine starts taking her apart and disassembling her. And she's like, why are you doing this to me? I'm real. Like, I want to live. And
like Pinocchio.
Yeah. I'm a real boy. So she is one of the characters in the game. But I'm not going to labour it too much. I talk about David Cage a lot in this podcast. I'm obviously a fan of his work. You play 3 androids, Connor, Tara and Marcus, and you're each playing out your own stories and discovering what it means to be human. My favourite character is Connor. Could not keep him alive. Tried the best that I could. He died at every opportunity. And he works with a real life man called Hank. So Hank is a private investigator and Connor is the robot that's been sent to you by Cyberdyne to help you with the investigation.
Cyberdyne? Like the Terminator?
Did I say Cyberdyne?
You did. What did you mean?
I don't know. Cyberlife.
Yep.
That's what I said there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, depending on how you play the game, depends on how your relationship builds with Hank, and you can have a very devastating ending if you don't build up your rapport with him. But there's a really my favourite part of Detroit is playing as Connor, because you have this investigation mode. So you go into a crime scene with Hank very, very early on in the game, where you're trying to discover who this person is that keeps... There's a android that has gone rogue and is murdering humans. That seems to be like what's occurring.
Mm.
So you go to a crime scene and you're trying to figure out what model of android would have killed this man. And so you kind of scan the area and you're picking up evidence, and you and Hank are having this like
Back and forth.
And it's just such an enjoyable element to the game. Like Connor and Hank's relationship. I wish that the game was just that.
Just those buds.
Yeah, I absolutely love them. But 2018 was Detroit. I'm not going to bang on any more about Quantic Dream in this podcast.
I think you might.
This year.
Yeah, this year. I am torn like Natalie Imbruglia.
Oh,
I really am. I really wanted to give this year to a particular game.
But
I played the other one so much more. So, the game that I would, in my heart, give 2019 to is Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Oh, I know you love that.
From Simogo, because it's wonderful.
Tell me more.
Simogo, I don't know why I'm pronouncing it like that. Simogo have made lots of really interesting games over the years. The first one I remember was Beat Sneak Bandit.
I remember that.
Which was like a rhythm-based sort of sneaking around, stealing things game. Really cute platformer on iPad. Then, what else can I remember? They made Device 6, which was a weird kind of puzzle, graphic novel-y thing. And Year Walk was another one they did, which is also bizarre, mystery, visual, story thing. They make really interesting games. And so they made Sayonara Wild Hearts. It is basically, if you can imagine, I guess Pop Stars has like gods / superheroes. And there's a lot of this about, like, I read a really great comic book called The Wicked and the Divine.
Oh, yeah.
Which is all about
been recommended
pop star superheroes.
Many a time.
Well, I can lend you that.
Oh, thank you very much.
So that theme is kind of played out in this psychedelic, very simple color, simple art style, 3D rhythm.
I was going to ask if it was rhythm.
Chase game. It's kind of like if you put the characters of The Wicked and the Divine into superheroes who are in Guitar Hero, and the tracks are just endless weird worlds that you kind of snake through, and there's not actual lines, but you can see where there's things you have to kind of pick up. So it's kind of like an endless runner, kind of like a beat 'em up, but not really, and kind of like just an insane celebration of, like, you know, futuristic pop music.
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I just can't.
So what's the story?
I don't know, really. You're just a normal person who's imbued with the power of one of these pop star gods, and
That's really cool.
You then battle against others. That's as far as I can remember. But
that sounds dead good.
It's great. It's on the Switch. It's on the iPad. It's part of Apple Arcade. So
I just got Apple Arcade today.
There you go. Gotta try it.
Did you have a runner-up for 2019?
Well, this is it. That's why I'm umming and ahhing, because like this other game that I've played more that I was going to give 2019 to is not Sayonara Wild Hearts. It's Tetris 99.
Really?
Yeah. Or Tetris 99.
Tell me why. Tell us why.
Tell me why. Well, Tetris is a legacy, all-time favourite game of mine.
But don't you know all the secrets by now? Don't you know all the combos?
But that's the beauty of what Tetris 99 does. I've never really played any other Tetris games. I think I played Tetris 4D because it had a co-op mode or VS mode on one machine on either N64 or GameCube, something like that.
Yeah.
Because we had it at uni and we would just do Tetris battles and it was great.
Tetris is fun.
That was the same time that we were obsessed with Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, which I will definitely do an episode on because it is great. But the point is, they've never really changed the formula. They've done interesting things with it. Like this year was also Tetris Effect, right?
Oh, I'm not sure.
That's meant to be amazing. I need to try that. But Tetris 99 is just perfect because So the cliche of this year and the last couple of years is battle royale modes, right? It's like last man standing type thing, and it comes from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds to some extent, and obviously before that the film and the novel Battle Royale, like the concept of beating all these other people and being the last person. So obviously Fortnite's made that huge as well. Then the concept of other games trying to pick up on the success of these games, will Call of Duty have a Battle Royale mode? Will Battlefield have this? Do they need to delay their games to put those things in because they're so popular? Maybe that'll make the game even more successful.
Yeah.
Was a thing. And, I even made a t-shirt design that said, name a video game Battle Royale, which is on my t-shirt store. You can check it out by Twitter. But it's Tetris. Applying that to Tetris on paper just sounds like the dumbest parody of video game culture at the moment. It's like, what we're going to do next? Tetris Battle Royale. But it's amazing. You have your Tetris thing in the middle, your stage, and around it is 99 other people.
You are kidding me.
And you see all of their things going on and what's happening throughout the match. And you're just trying to go as quick as possible, and you can redirect strategically in like 3 or 4 different ways. So you can be defensive, you can go on the attack, you can do this, where your the result of you clearing lines goes to other people.
Really?
So it's all just popping off constantly, and you're just battling. And Aurora's boyfriend Chris apparently is like his won matches. I can only get to like 20-ish rank.
Wow.
But it's just so tense. Obviously, it speeds up.
That sounds
but
amazing.
It's just beautiful. It's really nicely designed. Classic 2D, but with, nice sort of like gradients and stuff. Nice effects. Nice particles and things. Particles. And it's just really rock solid. And it's got just basically the classic Tetris music reimagined as well. It's exactly what you want it to be.
So in answer to my question, do you already know all the bits? They're changing it up so much and bringing so much of a fresh,
it's just so pure.
Yeah.
But also a new way to enjoy that same pure experience.
I like that. That's great. Love that. Good old Tetris.
That's my Tetris 2099. That didn't work. That's my year.
I keep writing 2002.
That's going to trip you up next year.
No, but that's what I mean.
2002 and 0.
I'm like, see you in 2002. Just can't get my 2s and 0s the right way around.
That's 2 enough. Liz,
hey up.
What's your favourite this year?
I've got 2 runner-ups.
Oh, okay, getting serious now.
First one's Astral Chain.
Okay. What is that? Because I hear about that a lot. And I feel ashamed that I don't know what it is.
Astral Chain is Platinum Games a la Bayonetta fame. You play a police officer who has...
A chain?
Almost like a monster that fights alongside you.
Oh, sweet.
It's very stylized, very beautiful, great colour palette, very Japanese anime-esque. Definitely has some subtones of Pacific Rim in there.
Oh, hello. Okay, you've piqued my interest.
Just a beautiful game. Chiro and Sophia bought it for my birthday on the Switch.
Oh, very cool.
So that's definitely a runner-up. I've not played enough of it for it to be my game of 2019.
Okay.
Similarly with Death Stranding, I've been loving what I've been playing of Death Stranding. Can't really say death with my bracing. Death Stranding. But I've not played enough of it for it to be my game of 2019.
Okay.
But just beautiful game. Loving it. And just the core game loop. Just, if you describe it to somebody of... You go somewhere, put loads of stuff on your back, and then walk to somewhere else. You're like, why is that enjoyable? But it just is. And it's just beautiful. And the characters are great, as always, with Kojima games. You even get to deliver a pizza. It's fab.
Finally. So your games have made it.
Because, Go on, guess what my game of 2019 is?
Final Fantasy VIII.
The remaster.
I don't know. Sure. No, I'm pretty sure it's Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, it is. It's the Resident Evil 2 remake. And that came out right at the beginning of the year. I played it in a weekend. Absolutely loved it. And then very recently they announced that in April 2020 we're going to have Resident Evil 3.
The remake.
The 3-make with our friend Neil Amesis.
Yeah.
I am just so over the moon. I am secretly hoping that this means Not that I mean to give you extra work, Capcom, but just...
Because they're listening.
Yeah.
Given that you're there.
Given that you're there, it means that there'll be a Dino Crisis remake as well. I've given myself a tenuous link in that in Resident Evil 3, the original one, Jill Valentine, the main character, had a Regina from Dino Crisis alternative costume. So I'm kind of hoping that that means...
That's how that works.
That's how that works. If there's an alternative costume, the game must exist.
Yeah, I think that's just by law.
Yeah, it is. So the Resident Evil 2 remake is, like we've just been saying about Tetris, it's everything that you know and love and remember from the original Resident Evil 2, but just brought up to this century. Some of the iconic bits that you expect have been removed. So the classic introduction to the liquor cutscene is no longer there, but it has just been so beautifully brought to life. There's no spiders.
That's your one complaint?
I'm not complaining, I'm just saying.
Okay.
And I never want my talking of games to be like I'm complaining. Do I ever sound like I'm complaining? I'm not complaining. Resident Evil 2 remake was incredible. So, Resident Evil 2, you've got your lady Claire. She's in Raccoon City looking for a brother.
Right.
You got your man Leon.
Is she a hot brother?
I don't know. Not a fan of Christopher, no.
Okay.
No. He doesn't have a hot evil twin either.
Or amazing glasses.
Or amazing glasses.
Not a reference to me, by the
way. So she's looking for a brother.
Yeah.
And then you've got Leon. Poor Leon. You know Leon from Resident Evil 4 fame.
I'm aware of him.
Who, as soon as he becomes...
Any new job, just immediately...
Yeah, it immediately goes
He's
to
like
shit.
Jack Bauer. You've been promoted. What's happening? There's a nuke, sorry.
Yeah. He's the Jack Bauer of computer games.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If you've played the original one, then you'll definitely have played the remake. If you played the original one and you remember the map, your muscle memory will take you through the game.
Wow.
It's bonkers how much I was like, I remember this being here in the original. I wonder if it is. Oh, it is. Oh, in the original, this was a door to a shortcut to here. Oh, it is. So
great.
There's enough in it that it's new and fresh and different, but it's just so nostalgic. You've definitely been to that police station before.
Nice. We
should
split up and look for survivors.
Yeah, so it's still the episode of Spaced, which features Resident Evil 2, still upholds.
Yeah, it does.
So developed by Capcom, published by Capcom on PlayStation 4 and Xbox. Just wonderful. Absolutely love it.
Right, well that is a full decade of our favourite games.
What's your favourite game from the whole decade?
Oh, Liz, it's so difficult.
Because mine is there's three for me.
Top three?
My top three is Final Fantasy...
Are you going to do them in order?
No. Final Fantasy... No, not that organised. No. Final Fantasy 15, The Wolf Among Us and Devil May Cry.
Okay, I would pick out Hotline Miami, Rocket League, and Inside.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's me. Yeah.
I think that's you.
Just, that's me, Dom.
We're so different, aren't we?
We are. Isn't that cool?
I think what we should do... So I'm going to play Florence in the new year.
Yeah.
I think you should give me 3 games...
Give me
that
3
are
rings.
very you.
Okay.
And I'll play them and then I'll do the same to you.
We'll do the exchange and we'll stream them.
And we'll get Aurora to mediate it.
Yeah. Or at least tell us how to stream. I think I would like to play some of your horror games. I don't think I'm going to enjoy Final Fantasy or RPG-like games because that's just not me. It's too much to keep in my head. I'm too basic.
What about the first hour?
First hour of what?
Final Fantasy 15. Just get to know the boys. And
just come round, meet the boys.
And then you just want
you'll
to
have a
carry
drink,
on
you'll
that
have a good
journey
time.
with them.
Okay, I'll consider it. What is the time?
I'll tell Prince Noctis you're coming.
Okay.
PlayStation 4.
Okay, I have one of them. No excuse.
PlayStation 4.
I will share with you some weird and wonderful games. But yeah, Hotline and some of these other games of the past decade have been very formatively, moulding my creative outlook on the world and my interests. And I absolutely have had a great decade in gaming.
Oh, me too. I love those video games. Special mention
to
David Cage.
Why?
Because he's been
Because he's been mentioned so many times.
He's been mentioned so many times.
Shout outs to Monsieur Cage. Have you met David Cage?
No.
Why not?
He would never want to meet me. I should imagine. David Cage,
I love that you went that way
I
around.
love all your games. Why is it that Connor always dies? Please help me.
Have you decided you should write him a fan letter?
Really?
Yeah. You should be like, hi, I'm Liz McCurry. I really like
I've
your
got
games.
the Cage.
Yeah, this is, yeah. I've been thinking about this as like my end of decade. I've been thinking I might write some fan mail just as a way to end out the year and thank people who have inspired me over the past however long it's been.
That's a really lovely
Feels
idea.
like a fun thing to do.
Ah, what a lovely idea. Do you know what? I think I will do that.
Why don't we do that?
I'll just tweet at him.
Yeah. Hey, David Cage.
Hey, David Cage, why is it Connor always dies in Detroit?
P.S. Sorry I slid into your DMs. I don't even like dot mines. Anyway,
P.S.
thank
could you patch in skidding on knees into all your games, please?
P.S. Have you played Wet? It was great. Right. Anyway, this is the end of the podcast and the decade.
Forever?
Yeah.
Oh, no!
No, just this episode.
Oh, okay.
Chill. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast this year. It's been a really fun year.
Yeah, it has.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, thank you, Will. It's been really fun doing this. I just love any opportunity to bang on about games. So thanks for letting me do so.
And we appreciate, both of you for listening. So thanks.
Fabrice and Joe and Aurora.
Yeah. Good job, everyone. Well done. But we've had a good time. We're going to do another season next year at some point. Mm-hmm. But for now, thanks for listening to these special episodes.
And Happy New Year. Have a great start to 2020. 2002.
Enjoy 2002.
Bye.
Bye.